Hello and welcome to Simonheals. My name is Simon and I am so delighted to be joined by Elena today. Elena and I haven't got together to have a conversation for quite some time. I think it's a few months, so we're kind of long overdue. And actually just a couple of days ago, I was watching a video of Elena's on her channel, which I will leave a link below to her channel. If you're not following Elena, I strongly suggest that you do. And this video was just fantastic. And Elena has this ability to really deliver her very important and powerful messages very kind of concisely. And this last video was so good, and the subject was self-love, and particularly in relationship to our health and healing. And it's definitely a subject that's very close to my heart. So I thought, right, okay, it's time for us to have another conversation. So Elena, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for this generous introduction of myself and my channel and my last video. Honestly, I understand why you're feeling this way, because this subject, self-love, is the basis not only of our health and vitality and well-being in general. It's basically everything. If we don't love ourselves, if we don't believe ourselves, if we think we're something inferior, little, small, insignificant, not good enough, I mean, what kind of life we can expect from this point of view? And it just happened that I myself was, I mean, and probably still am in this state of mind, in this frame of negative self-limiting belief, although I'm doing what I can to overcome all of this, because I somehow manifested because of this lots of health issue and lots of insecurity. But also the people around me, like my family, my friends, my clients, any way you look at their problems, not necessarily health, but health is a big issue. Anything else, like addictions, because what is addictions? It's self-medication to try to heal this deep, raw wounding that impossible to deal with on a conscious level. Even work style, career choices, everything is based on our belief that we are not good enough, or opposite, that we are creating our own reality and we can do whatever. So I think it was designed this way to begin with. Otherwise, how can we play this game without, this kind of impediment? Think about it. We have to forget who we are first to play this movie, to project this reality. With all this drama and all this, horror movies, for some people is the best entertainment, isn't it? That's how it goes.
No, you're absolutely right. And yeah, I love what you're saying about we have to forget. And then life really is the journey of remembering. Now, many people don't remember. They stay within that kind of amnesia, don't they, through their lifetime. And they, in a way, they self-medicate through their life. And it's not just the obvious ways. When we talk of self-medication, we just kind of naturally think of maybe taking substances, whether it's legal ones like alcohol and food, or or recreational drugs or whatever. But we also self-medicate through our behavior, through things that are widely accepted in society for, you know, going to see movies, you know.
As if not, life is not enough.
Yeah, going to see movies, work is a form of
Oh
self
yeah, I know. I live with a person like
medication.
this.
Right. All these different ways that we distract ourselves from just being ourselves within this, within, I mean, within this reality. I mean, do you feel that when we come into this reality, when we're born into this existence, that we love ourselves unconditionally, and then bit by bit, through our programming, through our experiences, etc., we become further and further removed from that, and those kind of layers of that block us from that self-love, it's like they almost kind of accumulate, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's all starts as you just mentioned. We are as a being with in the flesh, like spiritual being in the flesh. We come with the full remembering of who we are, of our creator, of unconditional love. But by just the nature of our reality, of this density, of 3D density, the people around us, our mothers, family, it's, I don't know, maybe there is some people there are some people who are able to project this, to maintain this unconditional love. I don't know these people. I was, well, I don't want to say victim, but I never knew how to be loved unconditionally, neither when I was a little one, and since then as well. And this is what they call developmental trauma. This is what they call attachment trauma. Because when the bond between mother and child is not supported by unconditional love, we cannot fully develop our psychic abilities, our capacity to love unconditionally ourselves. And what's worse, we keep propagating this evil cycle. We project the same behavior, the same attitude to our own children. That's how it goes. Not to mention specific conditioning and programming by society as well. Not to mention ancestral, intergenerational traumas and programming that we also inherit. They even call, there's a specific term for that, energenetics versus just genetics, physical genes, but energetic patterns, which sometimes can manifest as a trend, like tendency towards depression, anxiety, or addictive behavior, or some other dysfunctional, non-productive behavioral patterns. And it all starts practically from our birth, just because we don't have enough whole, there's a whole science about this attachment traumas. And it doesn't take like fully blown abuse patterns, physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, God forbid, it's even beyond it. Just not being secure enough, especially with all these trends in pedagogy, whatever you call this science, like, oh, you have to let your child, be on a schedule, feeding schedule, or sleeping schedule. Do not do not come to the crying child, because he has to learn from the day one that he needs to, or she needs to, sleep in this particular position, in this particular room. Not, God forbid, to co-sleep with the mother, which was designed this way, right? Not only in the humans, but everyone does it. Animal world, everywhere. But no, not in the civilized world. It's It's not right. Science doesn't approve this practice. And things go on like this forever and ever, until we realize that something is wrong, until we realize that we have to address these silent traumas that probably don't even consider it as such, because who knows? I mean, it's normal, right? Everyone does it. What's to complain about? But even these micro traumas, even this mini something accumulates, and it brings us to the point of, oh, I have to learn the love. I have to be a certain way. I have to behave this or that way to be accepted and loved, right? And until I am accepted and loved, I can accept and love myself, because I'm not good enough. I have to earn it. I have to do something exceptional. This is how perfectionism is born, which is really, really destructive pattern. And on the other spectrum of the problem is, the opposite. Like, I will do something really bad to bring attention to myself. I will do something really destructive to make a point and to make myself visible and appreciated. Again, all of this destructive behaviors is the misguided love, or rather lack of real self-love, to be a productive human, to be a loving human being. So this goes really, really deep. And the problem is I had a conversation today with my friend when we discussed the very same issue, the lack of self-love and what to do about it. Because, okay, let's assume that I realize that I have a problem. I don't have enough of self-love to overcome my issues. So what do I do? What do I do to fix it? Like, fix it. How do I learn to love myself if I don't have the slightest idea what it is? And how does it feel to love myself? Do you see the problem? What do you do indeed? What's your take on this?
So, this conversation could go in so many directions, but my immediate answer to the very last thing that you said is that I practice a healing modality called Theta Healing. Mm-hmm. And we haven't done any Theta Healing together, have we?
We had once. It wasn't like full session because we don't have enough time. But please explain yourself, your method, and what could be done. On what level?
So what I do in a Theta Healing session is I will guide someone into a deep meditative state. And I will be in a deep meditative state myself, not dissimilar to hypnotherapy. And then I will explore the subconscious mind of the person that I'm working with, together with them, so it's very much an interactive session. And the kind of purpose of this is to dig down into the subconscious belief system, to identify within that beliefs that that person is holding that are not supporting their kind of well-being and their health, and living to their full potential. And the most common underlying belief that we always get to, because there's a digging process of asking questions and just keep digging and digging down, dig down into people's fears, into what's the worst thing that can happen if in their life, for them. And where we invariably 9 times out of 10 get to is the underlying belief is that I've got to earn love, that I do not receive unconditional love from my mother.
Yeah.
And so what we do in the session then is, once that belief that I must earn my mother's love once we identify that belief, because it's what you're talking about, you know, because from day one, it's like you've got to eat at a certain time, sleep in a certain way, you get rewarded for getting good grades, you know, you get reprimanded for not getting good grades. And although, you know, this comes from a place of love and our parents wanting the best for us, you know, it creates this, we develop this these beliefs that that love that we're receiving is conditional. It's based on what we do or we don't do, which isn't necessarily where our parents are coming from. They do love us unconditionally. I know that because I'm a parent. I know it. I'm a parent, but you know, and I do the very best that I can to for my children to know that. And to not feel that they've got to do anything for, you know, to receive that love from me. But then there's a balance to find then of like encouraging them and helping them to stay on track as well, and not just to kind of be floating around out there, you know, like aimlessly. But sorry, just coming back to the theta session. So once we've identified that, we can remove that belief that I must earn my mother's love, for example, as this kind of core belief, and then replace it with the belief that I receive unconditional love and with the feeling as well, because that's what you said is so important, is to, you've got to also know what that feels like. And when we're doing this work, let's say my higher self is communicating with the other person's higher self, and we're literally reprogramming not just the subconscious mind, but when we do theta, we're kind of going into the cellular level, into the DNA, and reprogramming all of that. Then once that's done, all the other beliefs that are layered up on top of that, they just disappear, because that was the underlying, let's say, kind of like foundation of a
core belief.
Of a, sorry, someone trying to call me. Of a dysfunctional belief system. Oops, I'm kicking my camera around here. So, and so for me, doing healing work, the destination, and it can be a long journey, this, but the destination is to get to unconditional self-love. That's the destination of the healing journey, really. And some people can get there quickly. For other people, it can be a long journey, and it's peeling away layers yes. of, isn't it? And all these different modalities that we practice, and I know that, you know, you practice, particularly you like to work with sound, which reminds me, I brought something into our session today I wanted to share with you, because I thought this is about self-love. So this is a heart chakra.
This is beautiful. The sound transmission is much improved. That's a good thing.
I've got the mic right next to it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because, well, we did some experiments, haven't we, Elena, about actually about working with sound online, because the sound itself doesn't necessarily carry as well as it does, obviously, if you're kind of physically together, but the energetics are still very much working, aren't they? You know, as
thankfully it does work.
Yeah, it does work. And for anyone watching this, Elena did some work with me, and it was really powerful. And it was actually, she actually has inspired me and given me the kind of helped me believe in the use of sound remotely, because for some reason I was kind of disregarding that, because there's many modalities that I work with that do translate very easily into working remotely. So I just kind of parked the sound healing for just working when I'm working with clients, and then you just kind of yeah, kind of reminded me that we can use this remotely.
Right. Yes, this method of yours, Theta Healing, sounds really, really powerful and transformational. And this is great, really. So basically, it's all boils down to the removing on energetic level this core belief that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I didn't have enough unconditional love. I have to earn my love of my mother. That's, yeah.
Well, then that plays. Sorry to interrupt, Elena, but just before you continue, because and it's the mother more than the father. This doesn't mean that the relationship with the father isn't important. Of course it is. It's so important. But the father's role is different. Now, when we're working with the father, that's more around being safe and being protected. This is
Support.
what the father's role more is. It's more that, you know. So that's often kind of core beliefs that we get to, is that I am safe. I am always safe. I am always guided. I am always protected, you know. And then, so so if these beliefs relative to our parents or our guardians, it doesn't need to be your biological mother and father, but your guardians, if these core beliefs relative to your guardians are not in place and not healthy, then those they keep playing out through our lives in so many ways. And you were talking before about how this doesn't have to be like massive traumas that happens, you know. For example, if you're a tiny babe, and I have clients that when we do the theta, for example, because it's a little bit like a regression as well, that they will remember things that they don't remember consciously. They'll remember being in their crib all alone, feeling absolutely terrified because they're alone. Because as you say, we're not meant to just be stuck in a room at 3 weeks old to sleep on our own, you know?
Yeah.
Or crying because we're hungry. Babies cry when they're hungry to get fed immediately. Now, if they're not fed immediately, whether that is done purposefully because of some kind of belief that it shouldn't be done, or just because, I don't know, mum's in a different room and can't hear baby crying, she's busy washing the dishes. For the baby, 6 weeks old or whatever, that's a trauma.
Absolutely.
That's an absolute trauma. And that can play out through the lifetime, can't they? Of like, I need something, I need to cry to get my needs met. So that crying as an adult might not be lying there on the floor crying, but it can be kicking up a fuss, getting attention to get our needs met. Yeah.
So on the other spectrum of healing modality, biofield tuning, sound therapy in general could be extremely efficient to clear all these old wounding, old traumas, like developmental traumas as well as real PTSD. Why is that? Because biofield tuning is, well, biofield by itself is a storage, if you will, all kind of traumas as well, all kind of self-limiting beliefs, which could be detected by the change in the pitch, in the tone, in the sound of tuning forks when put directly in the spot of particular spot in the biofield that is characterized by all kind of energetic distortions. So in that regard, compared to Theta Healing, we don't even have to be aware of what kind of trauma, what has happened at this moment in your lifetime. It's not necessary. It will be interesting. It would be highly informative and satisfying to know what actually you're clearing. But it's not a prerequisition, because all the work is done by very own body consciousness healing machine, basically. Because somehow, thankfully, it happens automatically when our consciousness, when our body perceives these distortions in the sound, it self-adjusts. It's akin like the same thing, like you're looking in the mirror and noticing like letters stuck in your teeth. What do? You remove it because it's it's not good. It's not supposed to be like that. The same happens in the biofield. So in this regard, this method is well, I shouldn't. I can say much easier, and I don't know how to measure efficiency and efficiency and
Efficiency.
Efficiency. That's the word.
Yes.
But at the very least, it's easier to perform because you don't have to be psychic. You don't have to be super intuitive. All you have to do is just have a non-attached, non-biased, without any attachment to the results attitude, and just listen and just be persistent. Of course, you have to be trained in a way to know how to detect this magnetic distortion pockets of energy that needs to be cleared, that needs to be released, that needs to be returned to the circulation. But it's not a big deal. I mean, everything is teachable. So, yeah.
Well, it is a big deal, but because you're adept at this, for you it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And I really get what you're saying about these more energetic approaches to healing, where we can bypass the cognitive understanding and just really communicate with the body and the body's innate intelligence, because the body's always looking to come back to balance.
Oh yeah,
it,
yeah. That's such a blessing.
But this is why we often need a kind of multi-dimensional approach to healing, and whether and as you know, I practice a few energy healing modalities myself, including working with sound, and for me, these are where I always go to. But time to time, I think there can be a need to also to approach healing through at a more cognitive level, because we do have that dimension to ourselves. And as you and I both know, the body is constantly responding to the mind all the time. Now, the body can let go of anything in a moment, but if the mind's not letting go, it can't,
Yes.
But sometimes we can also heal the cognitive mind through the body as well. It's not just the other way. So we have to, and this is when we start to think of healing in a more holistic way, rather than thinking of a linear cause and effect to our diseases or to our suffering. It's a much more intertwined, isn't it?
Definitely.
And interdependent, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to observe how to work on one chakra, on one area, one of the level of part of the body, somehow sends into self-adjustment, into homeostasis, like harmony, totally different part of the body or chakra or whatever. It's just everything is interconnecting, body, mind, emotional body. I mean, you can't divide, you can't possibly fully separate all these aspects of our being, of our health. It's so silly to think that the pharmaceutical approach is the answer for everything. Yeah, but
For
let's
sure.
not go into this area.
No. No, as we said, as you know, as I said, this conversation could go in so many directions. But I guess just to kind of get it back focused to love and self-love. How do you feel about? I mean, I suggest that love, when we talk about source, the creator, God, source energy, for me, it's love. It's not, there's not a being that is source. There's no big guy in the sky with a white beard. I think we've all pretty much agreed on that by now.
Of course.
And I don't want to offend anyone who does believe that, because I can understand it as a way of you know, kind of trying to make sense of the fact that there is something out there that is bigger than us, you know? So there's many routes to understanding that. But for me, it is love that emanates from source. Love is what creates everything. And as I described in the Reiki course recently, that each of us is like a musical instrument that plays this frequency of love, which is also a sound. You know, when we talk about frequency, about vibration, and about energy, you know, this is all sound. Whether we can hear that sound or not, it exists as a sound. And so this universe, that we are part of, is like this grand symphony of sound. And each of us is like a musical instrument within that. And we have our own sound to play.
Yeah.
I mean, does that resonate with you? You know, even that word resonate is
yes,
a sound.
it refers to sound vibrations, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing even to discuss it in this matter for me, really. Everything is made of sound. Our creation was like song into being, really. And as we know from Claire's work, from Claire's video, every single person, not even person, like every single creation, fractal of divine consciousness is just singing its song. It's not necessarily has to be a love song, could be a sad song or whatever song. But the bottom line is that you're right, everything is sound, everything is frequency. And this is the reason why we respond so well to the sound therapy, to the song, to the music. Music is amazing medicine as itself. It doesn't have to be really like specific like healing frequency, 528 the best, or whatever frequency is the best healing, this, that, and that. Not necessarily. Any kind of music that is enjoyable, that brings you, uplifting and best positive emotions, already healing by itself, just by nature of it.
I want to just, I'm going to disagree with you slightly on that. I think the actual hertz is very important, because that has actually been weaponized against us with modern music. So a lot of modern music is doing the absolute opposite of what you're talking about, has the opposite of a healing effect, that it's actually discordant as well. And the frequency, the hertz, is not in harmony with us, you know? So I wouldn't agree with that, that any music is, you know, has a healing.
Well, let's put it this way. The modern tuning 440 hertz was designed originally, at least that's what I learned in Germany for, I'm not sure Hebels or not, but it was designed for enhanced propaganda, to make our minds more moldable and
Correct.
to be easily to be manipulated and brainwashed, and so it went this way.
Correct.
However, the reason why I said that it doesn't matter really what particular frequencies are played, because there is a science. I signed up recently for the Shift Network course taught by John Stuart Reid, which is a brilliant scientist, bioengineer with a strong background and passion for acoustics. He has amazing device called Sima, for cymatics. And the movies that he shows, it's just incredible. It's such amazing. But what he has a tool to check, on a cellular level, to check different frequency to show or how they affect various physiological properties in the living organism. And what he suggests, what he found, it doesn't really matter. 440, 432, he didn't find any difference. What's important here, that he didn't study on humans yet, just on them using microscope and his cymatic thingy. But that's what he said. However, there's other researchers. I forgot his name, the one who invented holotones. This basically, he dug out this 440 hertz frequency related to that original idea for easy brainwashing and mind control by Nazis. So when he told an amazing story how in Israel, like by some incredible serendipity and synchronicity, he found a person in some cafe playing piano just for himself, for his own entertainment. So basically, that person transferred his knowledge about the ancient tones, the ones that David played to King, that from that particular time. So it took some time to decipher this message, but once he realized what's going on, he created such a healing holotones based on this upgraded, more natural, more profound frequencies. So I believe that it could be more than that. I mean, not what John Reid claims, because on the whole level, on the whole level of being, not just the cellular level, but totality of our being, frequency. I mean, the exact frequency is much more important, really, in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking to you because you have this kind of scientific background, and then you have this kind of spirituality, and I love the way that you kind of bring these together. Because I'm not a scientific person. I have common sense, and I'm very intuitive. So a lot of my knowing comes through intuition and the information that comes down to me from source, and then you kind of bring into the conversation this other dimension, and it's so fascinating. What I wanted to ask you then is, would you say that there is a specific sound or frequency that is the frequency of self-love?
That's a tricky question. I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone has an answer to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a novel that I'm reading chapter by chapter by Sol Lukman. It's called Snooze to Waking. To be waked, waken, something like that. And there is a notion in that novel about innate heart note, heart tone, heart frequency. And in that novel, different people have different tones, or like a whole spectrum. One is on red, because the frequency also, low frequency, are related to the visuals, visuals of light spectrum, right? From red to purple. So in that regard, I think it depends on the person, on its like tuning, a personal tuning, don't you think? I'm not sure it should be universal, this kind of, what is it, 528, 532? What's the frequency of this particular ball?
These bowls, I believe, are 528.
528.
But so this is for the heart chakra.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, I know that you do. I just thought I wanted to just make sure that anyone watching this is clear about this. So this, when this is struck, the vibration, the frequency, the sound of this actually awakens and opens up the heart chakra. Okay, and there's a symbol on here which is the symbol for the heart chakra from the Sanskrit, and it's, if this means anahata. Now, what anahata actually means, and you just reminded me of this when you were talking, is unstruck as in a bell. So there's a specific sound. So our hearts are like a bell that when we strike it, and it sends out this frequency. Are you familiar with Greg Braden and the work of
Yes,
Greg Braden?
yes.
Yeah. So he talks a lot, doesn't he, about and Joe Dispenza does as well too, about the power of bringing the heart and the brain into
Coherence.
alignment,
Yeah,
into coherence, isn't there?
definitely.
You know, and that when we do this, then we become we become healed, and we become, you know, kind of powerful creators.
Yeah, Simon,
Well,
when you say that love is everything, love is the basis of God. This is what God is, love. Although some people think that God is everything, not only love. If love is everything, how can we dedicate one particular frequency for everything? I don't think it works this way. I don't know if it's but
I don't think it's one frequency, as you know from the Reiki course, you know, that there's a whole potentially infinite spectrum. But what we're talking about is us as beings within that. I mean, we're only tuned in to a very narrow range of that infinite frequency that is emitting from source. And there is a specific frequency that is the frequency of love, I believe. That seems to be my experience.
When you experience this frequency, let us all know what it is.
I do. I am right now. I feel so, you know, it's a feeling. This is when we start to get into emotions, you know, and our emotions are one of the ways that our physical bodies decode these sounds, these these frequencies, aren't they? You know, so what we call it love, and we think of love as an emotion, because that's how we experience this particular frequency that is, you know, very much kind of life affirming and aligned with our health and our well-being. And yeah.
Well, it would be lovely to find the music, you know, the sound, the tuning fork, or, you know, whatever, to fully, completely, and totally open up our heart chakra and embrace all this divine consciousness within us and be one with everything that is. Would be completely transformational. Well, I have to tell you, and this probably should be our last few minutes of our conversation, so not to bore anyone.
Yeah, no, I doubt we're well, I hope we're not boring anyone, and I'm certainly loving our conversation. But I guess to kind of finish this off then, at a more practical level,
Yes,
because most of us, you know, are anything but self-loving. We sabotage ourselves. We, you know, we hurt ourselves in so many ways.
sadly.
Sadly, how do we, for ourselves? Okay, we can go to work with people like you and I, you know, and all the amazing other kind of healing facilitators out there. But what can we do for ourselves, Elena? You know, to come back to a place of self-love and to get into that vibration of love for ourselves.
Well, as I mentioned in my video, on at least on the intellectual level, just to realize that we are really just one consciousness, that fractalize it in 1 billion, whatever, 100 billions of different vessels, so to say, other expression. That's a good notion. But on the level of feelings, as we just talked about it before the recording, it's different. And for that, it's either deep transformational, like transcendental meditation could be, or some deep mystical experience, whatever needed to invoke this experience. And I'm ready to share my own experience, which was given me during my dream, during my sleep in a dream. It happened, I don't know, like about 30 years ago, and I wasn't not in a state to completely understand the significance, the magnitude of this experience. But what happened is I saw, not only saw, I felt with all my being something so beautiful, so bright, so light, and unbelievable feelings of love, gratitude, and it was such a blissful state. I've never ever experienced anything even close, like before or after that. And it was so weird. I mean, weird in a good sense. And accidentally, I learned on the radio that day that was a day when Orthodox Christians celebrate the Day of Holy Spirit, like the special fest of Holy Spirit. So my interpretation is that somehow, somewhat, my higher self, my divine spark, divine consciousness, showed me a sliver of what love is, what the Creator is, and I wish I could repeat this experience on the conscious level without repenting on this random dream work. But to me, it was a sign that there's so much more than just this. There's so much more than I think it is. It's just at that moment back then, I wasn't on that level to fully understand the significance of this event and how can I go from there. Yeah, one can only hope. I can only hope that I can repeat or improve on this someday, somehow. But yes,
So
that was
yeah,
a gleam of unconditional love that we all need and will crave one way or another.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we are sometimes given these glimpses, aren't they, during our lifetime of that potential, and they're not something that we can necessarily make happen. You know, there are definitely different tools that we can use that can get us nearer to that potential. But I mean, something that I want to suggest to people in a much more kind of, let's say, practical day-to-day way is just to keep moving away from anything that doesn't feel good and keep moving to what feels good, because we innately know what love feels like. You know, so if you're watching a movie or some media that is not opening up your heart, you know, and giving you a feeling of well-being, then don't watch it, switch it off. You know, if you're in any kind of relationship, and I use that word very broadly, you know, but if you're in any kind of relationship that, again, is not doing the same, then move away from it. And, you know, if you can't completely detach yourself from it, then you know, minimize that interaction. If the environment that you're living in isn't feeling good, then either move or do what you can within that environment to make it feel better. Notice how you feel when you eat certain foods. You know, is it sitting well in you? Does it energize you, or do you feel heavy afterwards? Do you know, do you feel agitated, or do you feel calm after eating, etc., etc. So we can look at every aspect of our life, because, you know, I do understand that source is unconditional love, but that it is also a very broad spectrum. What love is a very broad spectrum. But what source has communicated to me is that there is only love and its absence. So there is the absence of love, but that is still love, in the same way that a mountain cannot exist. You can't have two mountains without a valley between them. It would just be a flat plain.
Totally.
And in the same way, love exists in relationship to its opposite. And we have this choice in every moment as to which polarity. Are we going to the bottom of the valley, or are we going to the peak of the mountain? You know, and this is the dimension of polarity and duality that we exist within. Now, of course, in other dimensions, those polarities and duality does not exist. And then we're in oneness and we're in unity consciousness. But in this dimension, we've got either love or its absence in any moment. So I think that's a question that we can ask ourselves in any moment. Am I aligning with love? Is this situation aligning with love? Is this person? Is this food? Is this media? Is this environment? Whatever, is it aligning with love, or is it aligning with its opposite, which really is fear, anxiety,
Yes.
regret, shame, you know, all those kind of.
Yes, this is a very, very good point, Simon. Thank you for bringing it up. This is really important, just to have as a guidance our own feelings, what feels good, what feels right, and what doesn't. Just, navigate through our reality.
It is. That's our GPS system. And for me, it's not much more complicated than that really. And see what happens then. By default, you end up in the vibration of love. And by default, you start to live aligned with your purpose. Because the way that Elena navigates that is going to be different than the way I navigate it or someone else. So each of us has and this is our unique tune, the unique music that each of us plays, you know? And
yes, let's choose the happy, loving, great song of gratitude, and use the best frequency possible to make to relearn how to love ourselves, and by that to learn how to really love everyone else.
Absolutely. I really hope that for anyone that watches this, that we have helped to open up your heart. It certainly opened up my heart having this conversation. It's the morning for me here in Thailand. I know it's the evening for you, so hopefully you go to bed with your heart a little more open. I'm certainly starting my day with my heart a little bit more open. So
excellent.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Simon.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.